The Sultanate of Oman's Ministry of Health announced on Monday 69 new coronavirus cases, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases registered in the Sultanate to 2,637. This includes 816 recoveries and 12 deaths. The latest cases include 37 Omanis and 32 expats. The ministry called upon members of the public to adhere to the isolation procedures by staying in an isolated room with an attached toilet and serving the isolated person from outside the room as instructed. World leaders will hold an international pledging marathon on Monday to raise at least 7.5 billion euros for research into a possible vaccine and treatments for the novel coronavirus, after which countries promised a unified response. Organized by the European Union, non-EU states Britain and Norway, and Japan, Canada and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia leaders aim to raise funds over several weeks or months, building on efforts by the World Bank, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and wealthy individuals. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen last month called the online pledging conference a real marathon, saying a vaccine to the respiratory disease COVID-19 was needed in every corner of the world at affordable prices. Germany's health minister said developing a vaccine for the coronavirus could take years after US President Donald Trump predicted it could be achieved by the end of 2020. The minister said the development of a vaccine could also take years, as there can of course be setbacks, as was witnessed with some other vaccines. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres previously stated that as soon as such a vaccine is developed, it should be universal and available for every individual throughout the world. According to the World Health Organization, there are 8 candidate vaccines in clinical evaluation, with another 94 in preclinical evaluation. The number of coronavirus cases in Russia has risen by 10,581 over the past 24 hours, compared with a record of 10,633 on the previous day. This brought Russia's nationwide tally to 145,268, the country's coronavirus crisis response central said on Monday. It also reported 76 new deaths from COVID-19, bringing the total death toll in Russia to 1,356. COVID-19 deaths in the United States climbed by 1,450 in the past 24 hours, a tally by Johns Hopkins University showed Monday, bringing the total number of fatalities to more than 67,600. The Baltimore-based university had recorded more than 1.15 million cases in the country, with 67,674 deaths. The United States has by far the highest death toll of any country in the global pandemic. Monday's 24-hour toll was similar to Saturday's, showing a decline after hitting 2,502 last Wednesday. India relaxed some coronavirus lockdown restrictions Monday, even as the pace of infection picked up and reopenings drew crowds of people. The near total 5-week lockdown on India's 1.3 billion population achieved a slowdown in the spread of the virus, but has caused immense hardship for India's legions of poor people who could neither stay in cities without work nor travel to their home villages and waited in line daily for hot meals. Some degree of lockdown will continue at least until May 18th, a tentative return to normal life, albeit with masks, social distancing and stringent hygiene standards, resumed in low-risk areas with few or no cases, while constraint on movement and work continued elsewhere in the country. The government said on Monday Japan will extend the state of emergency due to the coronavirus pandemic by nearly a month, as it's still reporting hundreds of new infection cases daily. The government will extend the nationwide state of emergency until May 31st. The minister in charge of economic revitalization told the lower house steering committee. The minister said the government is considering lifting the emergency if certain conditions are met. The Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has scheduled a news conference later in the day to report the decision. Italians will be free to stroll and visit relatives for the first time in 9 weeks on Monday as Europe's hardest hit country eases back the world's longest nationwide coronavirus lockdown. 4 million people, an estimated 72% of the men, will return to their construction sites and factories as the economically and emotionally shattered country tries to get back to work. Italy became the first Western democracy to shut down virtually everything in the face of an illness that has now officially killed 28,884, the most in Europe, and some fear thousands more. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will set out his plan to ease a nationwide coronavirus lockdown next Sunday, media reports said, as new guidance emerged on how to maintain social distancing in workplaces. Stay-at-home orders imposed in late March are up for review on Thursday in Britain, one of the worst-hit countries in the COVID-19 pandemic, but the government has already said the measures will be eased only gradually. New guidance drawn up with company bosses and trade unions suggests office workers will be encouraged to stay at home for months to avoid overwhelming the transport system. An Afghan official said the Taliban claimed responsibility Monday for a truck bomb in southern Helmand province that killed at least 5 Afghan security force members, adding 2 weeks of rising violence in the country. According to government officials and the Taliban, last night's attack took place at a military center where at least 150 members of the Afghan army and intelligence wing were stationed. A spokesman for Helmand's provincial governor said 5 Afghan security forces members were martyred and 7 others wounded in a truck bomb blast in Grych district. The Afghan Defense Ministry had earlier confirmed the blast, but said only 1 member of the army was injured. South Korea said Monday it protested to North Korea over the exchange of gunfire inside their heavily fortified border that it says the North started. South Korea said several bullets fired from North Korea hit one of its frontline guards' spots on Sunday before South Korean troops fired 20 rounds of warning shots in response. It was the first shooting inside the demilitarized zone in about 2.5 years, but there were no known casualties on either side, according to South Korean defense officials. The Defense Ministry spokeswoman told reporters Monday that South Korea sent a message of strong protest and urged North Korea to explain the shooting and avoid similar incidents. The spokeswoman said North Korea hasn't responded to the message. Oil prices fell Monday, pairing last week's gains on worries a global oil glut may persist amid slumping demand and U.S.-China trade tensions that could restrict an economic recovery even as coronavirus pandemic lockdowns start to ease. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell as low as $18.10 a barrel earlier in the session. The benchmark contract rose 17% last week. Brent crude futures were down 10 cents at $26.34 after touching a low of $25.50. Brent rose about 23% last week, following 3 consecutive weeks of losses. Iran's parliament has passed a bill allowing the government to slash 4 zeros from the rial, Iranian state media reported Monday, after a sharp fall in the value of the currency as a result of crippling U.S. sanctions. Iran's national currency will be changed from the rial to the toman, which is equal to 10,000 rials under the bill. The bill needs to be approved by the clerical body that vets legislation before it takes effect. Iran's state TV said the Central Bank of Iran will have 2 years to pave the ground to change the currency to toman. The sports governing body said Monday the next Swimming World Championships, scheduled for summer 2021 in Japan, have been pushed back until May 2022 following the postponements of the Olympic Games. The International Swimming Federation said in a statement the World Championships were due to be held in Fukuoka next year from July 16th till August the 1st, but will instead take place from May 13th to 29th in 2022. The 2020 Olympic Games were delayed by a year due to the coronavirus pandemic and will now run from July 23rd till August 8th in 2021. The Commonwealth Games Federation and Global Esports Federation are in partnership to develop an esports strategy for the grouping that represents nations and territories that are current or former members of the British Empire. The partnership will focus on areas including an analysis of the status of esports in the Commonwealth, and a joint statement by both organizations on Monday said its capacity to support and advance our vision and mission through the joint development of a values-based Commonwealth esports strategy. The Global Esports Federation is headquartered in Singapore, and its president, Chris Chan, is also Secretary General of the Singapore National Olympic Council.